Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The problem with our politics is that we want to believe that politics is simple, either A or B. Life is not always that simple. In this case here, many Zimbabweans are making the mistake of believing that we can solve all our problems by believing that ZANU-PF is wrong and the opposition is right. And not only that, that the opposition has done nothing wrong. This is, unfortunately, not real. And it has created problems for us as a nation. It arises from the failure to understand what is it exactly we want the opposition to do. Because if you don't know what the opposition is supposed to do, how can you direct them? How can you hold them to account? The truth of the matter is the opposition was elected to play an important role. The A1 task the nation expects opposition to carry out ever since 1999 was to implement the democratic reforms to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. That bit must be understood. Yes, some people have failed to understand what is it exactly it means. How were they going to carry out those reforms? That is another problem. But let's understand their task. Their task is to implement the democratic reforms to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. When Morgan Tsvangirai and his friends formed their party in 1999 and launched it, they even named it the Movement for Democratic Change, answering to that very issue, the heart of the problem, democratic reforms to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. It's now 25 years since MDC was launched in 1999. And as we know, ZANU-PF has not only been blatantly rigging elections, but they've been getting away with it. We need to go back to the drawing board and say, what is wrong? In this case here, two things are wrong. The number one is that the very fact that ZANU-PF is blatantly rigging these elections is proof that the MDC CCC leaders have failed to implement even one token reform to stop the regime rigging the elections. The second point, equally important, is that ZANU-PF have been able to get away with it because the opposition has been participating in flawed elections to give ZANU-PF legitimacy. I've tried to explain this point so many times, but it is a point that must be explained again and again and again, because it is at the heart of our problem. This is a quotation from David Coulthard's book. in which he was admitting that the 2013 elections were so flawed, so illegal, the only logical step was to withdraw. But in the book, in the quotation, the full quotation is showing you at the bottom of the screen there, he admits that he and his colleagues did not withdraw because of greed. This is the problem. This is at the heart of our problem. We need to understand that our opposition have been corrupt, incompetent, and utterly useless. And they've taken that to justify their continued participation in flawed elections. They have participated in flawed elections out of greed. And we need to understand that, because if we don't understand that, we are in trouble. Here is a video clip of one of the MDC CCC leaders, Fadai Mahere. She participated in the 2023 elections, adamant that the opposition was going to win those elections, although they'd been warned repeatedly that without reforms, ZANU-PF will rig those elections. Just listen to what she had to say. This was just before the 2023 elections. She had the audacity of calling herself Iron Lady, no doubt after Margaret Thatcher. Sorry, we seem to be having problems with sound. Sorry about that. Benjamin, welcome to the program.
Listen up, when you're out at night, you gotta have this little beast on you. It's a keychain flashlight that blasts a crazy 6,000 lumen beam with one click, lighting up whole buildings easy. Plus, it doubles as a power bank that's tiny but mighty. Most power banks out there, they're slow-charging bricks. But this keychain charger uses new fast-charging tech, juiced up a dead smartphone in like 10 minutes flat. Packs a 20, 0 mAh imported battery.
Sorry about that. Benjamin, welcome to the program.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. You know, it becomes very difficult, when you're trying to analyze and look for a way forward out of the current mess that Zimbabwe is in, especially when the people themselves cannot see what is right in front of their nose. You have an opposition that will tell you without a doubt they are going to win rigged elections. They even have the audacity as far as involving God to say God has already made all necessary arrangements. And once God has spoken, no man shall put asunder, basically. But then logic will just tell you this is a lie. And I've always said this, even if you look at just the composition of ZEC itself will tell you that it is impossible for you to win rigged elections. The opposition, I understand why the opposition are doing it. I really don't understand why people cannot see. You know, the opposition will cry with you. The hospitals are in a shambles. The education is destroyed. But when it comes to once they are in parliament or they've won, councillor seats, they're very comfortable with taking, the perks that come with it. They are very happy taking a $70,000 car. They are very happy cashing in on the traveling allowance. Right now they don't want the $70,000 car alone. They want two of them. This is not just ZANU-PF that is doing it. It is ZANU-PF and the opposition. Now, every time when they participate and the elections are rigged, and even when SADC and all observer missions come up and say these elections are not free, fair, and credible, these elections are illegal, they will tell you, no, we have to protect our hard-earned seats. These are ours. I put my money to it. So it has become an investment. And the best person that can actually explain this, that said this so many times, I think we've played the video of Margaret Bongo explaining the facts to say, this is exactly why the opposition are doing. It's a business to them. It's a job. You're getting money from it. I mean, if you're going to pay $1,000 and you win, and then you get settled, the first settlement comes in with a brand new high end car which costs 70,000. Without a doubt, that is motivation enough. Then my question is, why can't the ordinary person see it?
Sorry about the delay in playing the video of the Iron Lady of Zimbabwe, Fazai Mayere. We'll try it again now.
Is someone who has a Master's of Law from the University of Cambridge. She enjoyed a distinguished legal career abroad, worked for the International Criminal Court in The Hague, for the UN International Human Rights Tribunal in Rwanda, and she could have stayed abroad and had a very prominent legal career, but she went back home to Zimbabwe, which in many ways is a failed state, and has the courage to speak out against the government. She was arrested multiple times. We didn't know she'd be able to make it here to Geneva if her passport wouldn't be taken away. We're really thrilled that you're here with us. Fazai, you have the floor.
Thank you, Halal. 2 years ago, I woke up in a maximum security prison in Zimbabwe with no toilet, no water, and no underwear. Inmates ate watery porridge with our hands because we were not permitted spoons. Before lights off, we had to line up in queues for roll call. Groups A, B, C, or D. D was for dangerous. And even though the other women there had committed murder, armed robbery, and infanticide, I was put in the dangerous group, all because of a tweet. So it might surprise you that after repeated arrests and wrongful imprisonment, I've come here today to the UN, optimistic, because the crackdown now taking place in Zimbabwe is a sign that we're winning. Even within his own party, Mr. Mnangagwa is weak. Their own intelligence tells them that the opposition will win this election in the coming summer. I'm the national spokesperson for the Citizens Coalition for Change, the country's main opposition party. Because we dare to challenge the system, I've been arrested repeatedly. My car has been smashed 4 times. I survived an armed robbery on my house. And then in 2021, local police slammed into a bus and hurt a baby. I remember seeing a video of the mother carrying a pale, limp baby, crying, grabbing the police officer by the collar, crying, "He killed my baby." I tweeted against this egregious act of police brutality. I said, "This is rogue policing. It's a disproportionate and unconstitutional use of force. No baby should die because of police brutality." And by the time I tweeted about it, it had already gone viral. But they arrested me anyway. And that's how I ended up in the country's maximum security prison. I was charged with communicating falsehoods prejudicial to the state. And I learned firsthand how the government would manipulate the law for their own gain. The magistrates and prosecutors had no regard whatsoever for my fair trial rights. They refused to admit the baby of the mother and the dead baby. They called me a liar. They said the baby wasn't dead. I faced a potential 20-year prison sentence because of my tweets. I'm free for now, but in Zimbabwe, nobody is truly yet free. And so I'm here today to let the world know that Zimbabwe is currently reeling under a dictatorship much worse than Robert Mugabe. Almost half the population live under extreme poverty because those in power would rather loot and persecute than lead. The government's war against freedom and its weaponization of the law against myself and other government critics, journalists, and civic society members, including Job Sikala and Jacob Ngarivume, who are still in wrongful detention, are calculated to send a chilling message to the rest of society. We're watching you, even on Twitter, and this is what you get: punishment for participating in opposition politics. Now, I wouldn't risk my life and freedom if I didn't sincerely believe that change is possible. Courage doesn't mean that you're not afraid. It means that you act in spite of your fear because you believe in a greater cause. And I choose courage. This summer, Zimbabweans go to the ballot box with one simple mission: to win Zimbabwe for change, to install ethical, competent leaders who believe in freedom, dignity, and prosperity for the many and not just the few. It is difficult, but we have to emancipate the jewel of Africa.
I'll stop it there. I think what the world was shocked to hear was her confidence that the opposition would win the elections. That is what shocked everybody. Because everybody had not for the first time, they've had several times, that Zimbabwe needs to implement democratic reforms to make sure elections are free, fair, and credible. It has been documented that Zimbabwe's ZANU-PF has corrupted the institutions such that they cannot carry out the task of implementing reforms. That is something that has been so well documented, we don't have to go through it all over again. And yet here we are. The opposition insisting that they would win these rigged elections without even one token reform implemented. This is the problem that we've had in Zimbabwe. What gave her so much confidence that she would win? The truth of the matter is, she knew that ZANU-PF was rigging these elections. She also knew that ZANU-PF was giving away a few gravy train seats to the opposition to entice them to participate. We cannot keep on playing this hide and seek with the people, telling them one thing, knowing fully well that we are lying. Fadzai Mahere and her CCC friends participated in 2023 elections, knowing fully well the process is flawed, knowing fully well that by participating, they were giving ZANU-PF legitimacy, and therefore perpetuating the dictatorship and the people suffering. But they didn't care, as long as they themselves got into power. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. Even when ZEC, the SADC and the AU election observers had condemned Zimbabwe's 2023 elections as flawed, Fadzai Mahere and a few of her colleagues who had won the few gravy train seats decided that they would go ahead and take their oath of office, thus giving the process legitimacy. And yet, she was there at the UN telling them that the opposition was going to win those elections. How were you going to win them when ZANU-PF rigs the process? She didn't want to answer that because she knew that ZANU-PF was rigging the elections. Her colleague, the leader of the party, of the CCC, was on record saying that he had plugged the vote rigging loopholes to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. We all know that was a lie. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. And it is unfortunate that we keep going round and round in circles on issues like this, when we should be making progress. Benjamin referred to Margaret Dongo. I just want to play a video clip of Margaret Dongo saying exactly what Benjamin was trying to say there.
This is what I want to remind most of our MPs and other people.
Do you think they look at it as a business?
Yes, they look at it as a business. Because they look at it as a business seriously. Because the moment they go, business and employment creation, because if they go to parliament, you are employed. You get a car, you get a stable salary, and you are paid until your term is over. Already you are employed. If you are out, you're out of employment.
If you serve 2 terms, you get a pension?
You get a pension. Then already, this is why people kill in politics. They kill to be in parliament. This is why we have violence in this country. Because there is no employment. The only employment which is there is in politics. There is no other outside employment. So for them, a very good example is, look at what happened to CCC, the CCC party. Have a look. When they lost, when they said they were rigged, what I expected from them, I expected all parliamentarians to say, we are not going to go to participate in a rigged system. And we are not going to sit in a rigged parliament. Because the elections have been rigged. So all of us were not going to parliament. Imagine what could have happened. We could have gone into new elections. There's no way ZANU-PF was going to roll alone.
You think so?
Yes.
Do they care?
Caring or not caring, the public would have forced them, because the majority of the people would want representation in parliament.
But they went anyway.
But they went. They realized that, you heard them complain, I used my own money to be in parliament. But what about me who have voted for you? I used my own money. So the idea is to recover. Is it a business where you want to recover your losses? Is it a business? Politics, is it a business where everyone else, when you get in parliament, you want to recover your losses? A good example is now, parliamentarians have been elected. I don't know when we last saw our member of parliament in this area. And some of them, they tell you straight away that we are looking for money so that when it comes back to re-election, we want to feed our people. We want to buy our votes. They're very open. So is that the kind of representation we are looking for? It's a bit unfair. It is unfair.
Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
It's pretty straightforward. The opposition has been crying with us during the day and enjoying the spoils of war at night with ZANU-PF. These guys are manipulators, and manipulators will simply just tell you exactly what you want to hear. They sell you the top story. And unfortunately, a lot of Zimbabweans out there have thrown away common sense and have just been eager to accept whatever they have been sold. And this is why we are in this mess. Not because of ZANU-PF alone, but we have been part and parcel of the problem. We have been told what needs to be fixed. And we have been told that it is up to us to fix it. And they went an extra mile to say, okay, we will give you the details of what needs to be fixed and the solutions. You just have to simply implement it. And guess what? Opposition for the past 25 years have done absolutely nothing about it. Yet we keep on hoping and sending them participating in rigged elections. I really don't know what it will take for people to finally realize that this is not rocket science where somebody keeps on saying, let us think outside the box. Let us think out. No, the solution has been given. All you need to do is implement it. It is up to us if we want to continue wallowing in the mud. So be it. We leave it. They say in English, you make a bed of thorns. Be prepared to lie in it. Zimbabweans are making their own bed. They should lie in it. Thank you.
I'd like to emphasize here that the opposition has been participating in these flawed elections ever since they failed to implement the democratic reforms during the GNU. They have known that the election process is flawed, and without reforms, it's absolutely futile participating in these flawed elections. But they've been participating out of greed. Let's make that one very clear. Fadai Mayere was telling the UN delegation that had invited him to give a speech just a few weeks before Zimbabwe's 2023 elections. The UN was well aware of the fact that ZANU-PF had been rigging elections. They'd been well aware that, for instance, the European Union election observer of the 2018 elections had come up with a list of 23 reforms that needed to be implemented. And not even one of those reforms had seen the light of day. And yet, there she was, convincing them, or trying to convince them, that the fact that ZANU-PF is resorting to all these antics is proof that the opposition is going to win. This nightmare is of the opposition's making. And let me say this right now. Bazai Mayere was one of those who did win one of the few seats, gravy train seats, and she went on to take an oath of office even when she knew the election process was flawed, claiming that she had spent her own money in those elections. She resigned her seat only when this individual, Sabangu, started recalling some of her colleagues. She had been so close to Chamisa, she knew she was going to be recalled. So she jumped before she was pushed. And let me say this as well. Come 2028, she will participate in those flawed elections, even if not even one token reform is implemented. That is the kind of leadership we have in the opposition. They are there for the few gravy train seats, and they will try to convince the ordinary people that they are serving the people's interests. They are not. The people themselves have got to wake up to the political reality and ask themselves, why do we need the opposition? Why have we been risking livelihoods, limbs, and even lives to elect the opposition these last 25 years? If you cannot ask yourself that, then you deserve this failed, corrupt, and tyrannical ZANU-PF dictatorship, complete with its equally corrupt, incompetent, and utterly useless Chamisa and company opposition. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Have a good night.